the professional facilities. And we're learning a lot about, how all the software works, and we're even designing software as well within that. So it's a bit more technical, and you're learning a bit about signal processing within it. Um, and there are, especially in first year, is common for all our students. That means you'll be doing all the same modules as anyone on the other stream, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes' time. But as you go through the program, there are specialist modules just for this pathway. Now, there are shared modules in in second year, third year, and fourth year, but there are specialist modules as well. For example, if you're doing the production pathway, there are modules focused on audio and music production for games, which is obviously a hot industry at the moment to get work in, to design sound design and composition for games. It's something that's really quite interesting, and that's within our production pathway and not within our practice-based pathway. I'll talk a bit in a couple of minutes about the specifics about the entry requirements, but for this pathway, it's a portfolio or a written portfolio for entry into this pathway. As I said, this was our original pathway. And then about 6 years ago, we expanded and we introduced our practice-based pathway. So this is a bit different. Its focus is a bit more on music performance. So it's a bit more musician focused. But there is still technology involved with it. As I said, there are some core modules in it. So you're still in the recording studio, but in this pathway, you're a bit more in the live room side than rather in the control room side. So it's like, which side of the glass in the recording studio do you want to be in? But you're still learning a little bit around the technologies and how to produce yourself. But there's focus on musicianship and musical skills and forming groups, and practicing as groups as well. So you develop performance skills, and you learn about creating music and writing music within this pathway as well. And it's practice as opposed to performance, because it's enabling our musicians to use music technology in a creative way. So, for example, we have modules that are shared, in performance technology. So it's all about, how can you use software like Ableton in your live performance as well. So there's a focus in on trying to get our students into that kind of performance environment. So, for example, as part of this pathway, that we host a number of gigs, and the students are the performers on it. So, for example, we host something called Tilt Takeover, which happens in March, which is where our second and third year students perform on the two stages in the Button Factory in the city centre. So that's something we build towards, and our students perform down in the Carnegie Library in Dunleary, and there are some events that they do in the IADT campus. In fact, some of them are performing tomorrow on the IADT campus as well. Anyway, so there are shared modules, as I said, with the production pathway, but there's a bit more focus on the performance element. So you'll get individual musician tuitionship. So if you're a guitarist, you'll get a guitar tutor. If you're a vocalist, you'll get a vocal tutor. If you're a pianist, you'll get a piano tutor. As part of that as well, to improve your skills as a performer. And to get into this, it's not a portfolio, it's a audition for this, and I'll describe what that looks like in a couple of minutes' time. So one of the other elements that people kind of always talk a little bit about is the transferable skills within it. And, as I was saying there's a lot of collaboration, there's a lot of working with other people, there's a lot of working with creative people and working to deadlines and negotiating around that. And we kind of have a big focus on that kind of communication, soft skills element of it. So, for example, like there are lots of briefs around client-based projects, real-world projects. So we sometimes bring professional musicians in or producers, and we create client-based briefs, and our students then work to that brief, so something that could actually happen, and they're building up their portfolio of recordings or sound design or compositions along that. As I was saying, there's group projects, there's a lot of group work within this program. I mean, that's the nature of this discipline. There's a lot of collaboration. Presentations, disseminating information, being able to talk about it is really, really, really important, and it's important for kind of after the program as well, for understanding, where's the music business going, and there are entrepreneurial skills within the program as well. So, for people who want to set up on their own or have a business idea within it. And one of the things that I just highlight that people don't really realize is kind of it's written on the website, but it might be too clear, is that there are some very kind of technical skills that some students really engage with, programming and software development, so designing things like software plugins and processing elements, and that's a good career path as well. Students have gotten jobs within it and developed their own software and gotten big commissions and gone to do further research and also to do postgraduate. So it's something that's within the program anyway. Um, and then where do our graduates kind of end up? So and a lot of people kind of ask that, what's the sort of examples of where do the students go? So you can check this out in your own time, but I'll just show you a couple of exemplars of, some of our graduates in recent years and where they've gone. So for example, here, this is Ryan Jafaris. As I was saying, programming is something interesting that happened. So Ryan has gone on to study further audio programming, and he's gotten a job as a software developer, and he's worked in Los Angeles doing audio software, so designing plugins for some big software companies. Faith is forging a great career as a performer. She's known as Twisted Sister. She's getting some great reviews. She's played some big gigs in the last couple of years. Cathal has gotten is working in broadcast now, so he's doing sound for a lot of the big kind of gigs that happen through the Aviva. No, sorry, a lot of the big sporting stuff. So he works for a crowd called NEP and Creative Technology. So he does a lot of things like sound for big sporting events, sound for big sporting events. NEP is the crowd, and he did the Olympics as well. He's done some really interesting stuff there. Oliver's working in RTE as a producer in there. Martin's working in software as well. Kieran is working for a company called Hive, which make an app that you can, generate your own music. It's like a music development platform as well. So there's some really kind of interesting kind of graduates, and they've ended up in lots of different places. Omid is a sound designer and producer working in Canada at the moment, doing some great stuff with some TV productions and some advertising companies. And Collie and Danny are both producers, forging some really interesting stuff. Danny's just in the Netherlands, and Collie's in Dublin doing some great work with some bands in Ireland, and Brian's got his own music school. Anyway, there's lots of really, diverse kind of areas, diverse areas within music where our graduates end up anyway. So, and just the next piece I just want to talk a bit about is the entry requirements and how you get into this program, okay? Because I know a lot of people would have questions around this. So the program is a portfolio-based program, so it has restricted entry, which means that you sometimes see the points on it for, like, it could be 7, 4, 5, or 800, depending what it is year to year. So how do you get that? So that is basically your CAO and then a portfolio, which I'll describe in a minute, or an audition. So essentially, you can get your CAO points. So that's 625, I think, at the moment. And then there's also 600 points available for your portfolio or audition. So when you see something like 745, 800 points, that's essentially a mix of your CAO and your portfolio or audition scores together. Okay. And so, yes, I said it's a combination of both to get those points. LCVP is accepted as a 6-year Leaving Cert subject and is counted towards your points. All of this relates to the Irish Leaving Cert. If you have particular questions about entry from different systems, like the baccalaureate, you can get onto our admissions department, admissions@iadt.ie. There are some specific mapped entry requirements. Like, we always have a few students who are coming from outside of Ireland into the program, so they'll have specific questions about what they are required to do anyway. So before I talk about the portfolio, there are some minimum entrance requirements, okay, and that these are what they are. They're basically saying that you need 2 H5s and 4 ordinary 6 or H7s at Leaving Cert, okay, and you do need ordinary level maths or higher maths, and unfortunately, foundation maths is not accepted. Okay, so that means that, and I know some students, there's always 1 or 2 students who are doing foundation maths, and what can they do? So there are ordinary level maths qualifications that you can do outside of school, maybe during the summer period, which you can do. I know there's one that you can do from Mallow College remotely, for example, and it's a few-week course to try and get you up to ordinary level pass anyway. But it is a requirement, I'm afraid. Unless you're coming in as a mature student, that it's slightly different there in that regard, and I'll mention that in a couple of minutes' time. So anyway, the as I said, if you want to do the production pathway, you can submit either an audio portfolio or an essay. Okay, and if you want to do the practice pathway, it's an audition. All right, and an interview. All right, so let me be clear there. So that there are two pathways: production and practice. If you want to do production, yeah, it's either an audio portfolio or an essay. And if you want to do practice, it's an audition and an interview. And you might say, how do you decide? You decide when you'll be contacted by our admissions when you sign up for the program through the CAO, and they will be asking you which way you want to come into the program as a production or practice students. There is an opportunity to change which pathway at the end of first year. Okay, but a practice because as I said, first year is common for all, and you'll be submitting your portfolio through portfolios.iadt.ie. Okay. And then for the audio portfolio, which is what we get the most of. Okay, people always ask me, what do you get most of? It's usually the audio portfolio. Okay, and what we're looking for is two contrasting pieces of music around 3 minutes each. I know a lot of people write music that's more than 3 minutes, but we'll be going through an awful lot of these portfolios. So I'll ask you to do an edit down to 3 minutes. Or submit the best 3 minutes of a piece of music that you have. And as I said, two contrasting pieces. And we've changed our marking slightly this year, and there will be additional marks awarded for recording one element within these pieces. And what I mean by that is we get a lot of sample-based, Ableton-based music, which is brilliant. Some people are amazing at that, but there is a skill around recording and working with an artist, and yeah, that's something that we teach a lot about. So we've asked that we're letting you know that there are additional marks for including, say, a live vocal or a live guitar or a live piano, if you are doing sort of a sample-based portfolio. But if you're doing a pure recording with a band, then that's covered anyway. So pay attention to things like pitch and timing and audio quality, right? We understand that you might have the best equipment, the best software, but if you can hear that there's problems and you can tell us about that in the supporting documentation, that's really important anyway, okay? So you can explain, and you have to submit some documentation around each piece, explain how each piece was recorded or produced, what tools you use, critically analyze what you've done, reflect on what you might change and improve. That's really key. So if you hear, oh, the vocalist is really pitchy, there's a problem there, I know I just can't fix it because I don't have the tools, that's fine. We have the tools and we have the knowledge to show you how. But if you can start hearing that shows a real interest and a real ability to apply yourself to this program anyway. And there's always a question like, okay, do I have to rent a recording studio or whatever? No, of course not. You don't. So here are some examples of free tools that you can use to try and put that portfolio together. If you have access to a Mac computer, GarageBand is an excellent piece of software. It comes free on all Mac computers. It comes free on iPads as well and phones. And it's excellent. It's just one step down from Logic Pro, which is, an industry standard piece of software. There's some free kind of browser-based tools as well, audio tools, Soundtrap. They can be used for making your portfolio. For recording, Audacity has gotten really, really good. There's the newer versions are brilliant. Pro Tools is obviously the industry standard, and you can get a free version, a light version that can get up to 8 tracks at the same time, so you could try and use that. Reaper, excellent piece of software. You're seeing it all across the industry, and it's freemium, which means you can use it for free, but they ask you to pay something. So, I mean, that is a really super piece of software to try out. And then for more production-based stuff, Ableton, you can get a month out of it for free, and FL Studio, you can also get a version of it as well for free for a couple of months. So there are some examples of some tools you could possibly use. Anything else you could use as well. Yeah. We always get a lot of Fruity Loops or FL Studio stuff, and we don't actually teach that once you get into the program, just to be aware of, but I know some students are really, really a fan of it anyway, okay? And then for the other parts, so if you don't have access to musicians or software, we do offer an alternative there. You can write an essay for a version of your portfolio. And what can you do on that essay? You can do an essay on, say, an artist, a genre, an event, something that you've really passionate about, a piece of technology. And we're looking for kind of ownership and enthusiasm with this, and also show us that you can do some research within it, and show us that you have a bit of passion for the discipline area. And there's a word limit of that between 500 and 800 words for it. and it's a written port option, right? And you want you to be reflective, so talk about your own opinion on something. So if you're, we're not looking for just a statement of facts. We're looking for your interpretation and opinion on stuff. And do not plagiarize. And we're going to be looking out for AI tools as well. I mean, I know people do use the AI to a certain degree, but in a portfolio, we're looking for you not to do that. We're looking for originality, that it's definitely your own voice that you're. So we're checking for that. So don't be using AI if you can avoid it, please, because you will be marked down for using it in the essay. As well. Anyway, so just to give you some important dates, for the portfolio. So the portfolio submissions are open at the moment if you're in your final year and you intend to start in September 26th, this September. And we're going to run a couple of portfolio clinics, and they'll be published shortly, which essentially these are going to be sessions where you can book a session with one of the lecturers on the program and get 15 minutes feedback on your portfolio, because I'm sure there's lots of questions on the portfolios. People are always wondering how can they improve it, so we're going to run some sessions on that, and also there'll also be sessions for the practice students as well. The CAO closing date is the 1st of February, and the reason I'm highlighting that is that this is a restricted entry program, which means that if you don't have us down after the 1st of February, we can't add you to the program. So you could have us down as your second or third choice, and then you can manipulate, up until the closing date of the CAO towards the summer. You can move us up and down in terms of preferences, but after the 1st of February, if you don't have us down, you can't. If you're coming through the CAO as a first-year student and you're not coming as a direct entry student or a mature student, we can't add you to the program. You have to have us down by the 1st of February anyway. And then just to finally say that the portfolio submission deadline is the 10th of March is the deadline for that, which means that you have between now and then to complete your portfolio and submit it through portfolios.iadt.ie. And then the other way you can get into the program, as I sort of said, is through the audition. And the audition will be held in person, and that'll be in the city centre in the Sound Training College. And we'll ask students to play one piece of music on their primary instrument. And it'll be, you're allowed to have some accompaniment. So if you're a singer, you can bring another musician in with you, like a guitarist or a pianist or a backing track. And you can perform in front of us with that. All genres are welcome. So it doesn't matter what genre you're into, you can, if it's jazz, if it's pop, if it's rock, if it's more contemporary or more classical, whatever you're into, we'll accept all genres into it. And as part of this, there's also an interview, because you're there on the day. So be well researched into the program and be able to talk about what parts of it are interesting for you as well. That'll be happening usually in April. The date for that hasn't been arranged, but you will be contacted by admissions once you sign up to be go through into the practice pathway anyway. Okay. A couple of other things just to highlight just before we finish up the presentation is that our partner, the Sound Training College, are holding an open day this Saturday. Okay. So, and that's going to be from 1 p.m., 1 to 4 p.m. this Saturday in the Sound Training College in the city centre in Temple Bar. And if you were interested in this program, I highly recommend that you go in and look at their facilities, because especially in the early years, you'll be there a lot and you have to, really understand those sort of spaces. They'll show you the studios. There's some great facilities, but they're smaller spaces. So, but just to be cognizant that that's where you are. So go and have a look, and if you are interested, drop an email to info@soundtraining.com to book in. But if you can show up on the day as well, and you can see more information at soundtraining.com. And that's this Saturday, the 24th of January, between 1 and 4 p.m. And then just finally, just to highlight as well, I know this is after the CAO deadline closes, but if you are interested, if you're, say, a fifth year here today, IADT is holding an open day on the 28th of February, and that's on campus in IADT. And you can come in and you can have a look at our facilities. We've got some brand new audio facilities in IADT, a Dolby Atmos mix stage, and a Foley suite as well. So for recording sound effects for film and mixing sound for film, video games, animations, and you can come in and have a look at those new facilities that are for us as well anyway. So I'm going to open up to questions. That's my email there, connor.brennan@iadt.ie. Just drop it, have a little search. You'll find me there as well if you have any particular questions that you don't want to ask here anyway. Okay, so that's the presentation presentation, folks. That's that part of it. And I'm sure there's going to be a few questions here. So if you have any questions, just drop them into the chat and I will do my best to answer them. Okay. So there's, yeah. Okay. Are you called for audition only if this course is your number one? No. So as I was just mentioning there, if you're there are two pathways, production and practice. So if you're going into the practice pathway, you will be called for an audition and you have to outline that. You'll be contacted by our admissions department once you after the CAO deadline closes. And so if you're going in through practice, it's audition only. And if you're going in through production, you have to do a portfolio or an essay for it anyway. Okay, Evie? Evie Lee, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Do the students that choose the production pathway still get to perform and develop their musical skills as well as play live music? They do, but not to the same level. Okay, and what I mean by that is that you don't get individual musicianship training. So in second year, there are literally classes where as I said, the guitarists, the bass players, the drummers, the pianists, they go and it's a module where they go and talk to a tutor and improve their skills. You don't get that in the production pathway. There are opportunities to play live. So, for example, we always need musicians to record, and if you're on the production pathways, there are opportunities. And if you're in a band, there are opportunities to record your band. And if you are in a band with a practice student, maybe a band develops, you can perform with them as well. But you don't get the same musical training. Okay, you do music theory. Everyone does music theory in second year, and they do more of it in practice, and there's opportunities to do it as an elective in fourth year as well as like a compositional module. Okay, any other questions there, folks? If you audition on an instrument, for example, drums, do you play drums for the rest of the 4 years, or you can play other instruments? No, you can play other instruments. You can play. So if you're a multi-instrumentalist, yeah, you're just coming in with one instrument, and we have that all the time. A drummer comes in but can also play guitar, and then they just audition on that instrument, and then they come in and they change their mind and they say, you know what, I actually want to get my musical training on a guitar. And we do allow that up to a level. You have to be up to a certain guitar level or a vocal level, but we do try and get students to stick with a primary instrument very early on, like from the first day of second year. When you're getting your musical training, you need to kind of stick with that primary instrument. But it doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities that if you play a bit of guitar and play bass and sing a bit, but also play the drums, that when you're doing an assignment, that you need to do all of those elements. Okay, I hope that answers your questions. Any other questions there, folks? Yeah, go for it. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, folks, please do shout. Type them now. And if there's a few, I can answer them. As I was just, people always ask me about the differences between the programs, and I said it in the presentation, but sorry, the pathways. I said it in the presentation, and I'm just going to highlight it again that first year is common, right? So there's a lot of queries about production and practice. So it means when you come in as a practice student or a production student, you do the same first year. At the end of first year, you'll be exposed to lots of production stuff, lots of practice-based stuff, and you might say, I want to switch pathways. And there is an opportunity, depending on how you do in certain modules within the program, to get into the production pathway if you're on the practice. And if you want to go the other way, you have to do an audition at the end of first year to get into the practice side of the house. And that usually happens at the end of the first year. Okay, but once second year starts, there's really no way of kind of switching over, unfortunately. Anyway, okay. Sorry, there's a few questions coming in there. Okay, how many CAO points do you need? Well, the CAO, of course, varies. It fluctuates from year to year. So the CA, and as I sort of said, the points are between your portfolio or your audition. So for your leaving cert, there's no, like, a leaving cert point and a portfolio point for us are worth the same. So essentially, if you do very well in your leaving cert and you do okay in your portfolio, you can get into the program. I think it was 745 or 750 were the points last year. So that's a combination of leaving cert and portfolio or audition anyway.
Yes,
So,
sorry, Connor. It was 738 last year.
738. I think that was maybe when the second round or something. Maybe it came
Yes,
down a little bit.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. So are there any extra marks for songwriting as an original piece of the portfolio? Are there any extra marks? I wouldn't say that specifically, to be honest with you, but it's good to know. Like, it would be good to know if you highlight that you wrote the song, but you can do covers. We've no problem with people doing covers as well. But if you write your own music and you submit it, that's great as well. What is the process for application for a student coming from a level 5 music production course in further education? So, Ronan, if you're coming from a level 5, it's more, if you're, let me just talk about the two ways of coming in through further education. So essentially we do have what we call advanced entry. So that's it for students who usually have a level 6. Okay, and they can gain entry into the second year of our program following an interview and a submission of a portfolio as well. All right. For a level 5, it depends. I need to have a look at the program specifically. We have to map them. If you're coming from Bray, Dún Laoghaire, or Ballyfermot, we've already done that mapping. So I kind of know that the students can come into the first year of the program with a level 5, as long as they meet some of the other requirements as well. So like if you're a mature student, you don't need to meet the maths requirement, but if you're not a mature student, there are some issues around that. So it's mature students over the age of 23. We hold a certain amount of places for further education applicants as well. We did meet that last year. We had one case last year where we had too many trying to get into the second year, and we weren't for students who had a level 6. So we were only able to offer one student who had the requirements to get into second year and was offered only first year because second year was essentially full anyway. Hope that answers your question, Ronan. But if you have further specific questions about your own program, I recommend contacting admissions@iadt.ie. They can help you with any sort of specifics around the mapping of your particular qualification. Okay. Oh, see, a DFEI. Yeah, a load of students come up from DFEI. Like we've a great relationship with the guys down there, like Willie Demonge, over the years. Anyway, we always have 2 or 3 students coming who do the level 6. So there's level 5 and level 6. If you were to stay in the level 6 and DFEI, I would say that you could have possibly getting into second year. And at level 5, it's the entry level point is really first year for that. Okay, what sort of music would be producing, and what is the usual genre of music that is played here? So if you're asking specifically for the program, there's no particular genre of music that is, we don't really teach genre, we teach the skills. Now there are sort of, if you're in the practice stream, there's a bit more focus of kind of contemporary pop rock and jazz kind of performance. But if you had an interest in a different style, we could possibly facilitate it. But for for projects and stuff like that, there are some projects that are around dance music, there are some that are around rock, there are some that are around classical. It just depends. But we do teach all those kind of elements and skills that are around those elements. Okay. Is there workplace opportunity during the course, and if so, where would that be? So yeah, we have a work placement opportunity for the second semester in third year. So for example, our third years are just going out on work placement, and really the work placement module is an opportunity for you to engage with with industry. And where would you go? It's really up to the individual student to find that. Okay, so we do have some contacts, like we have students go to software companies, post-production houses for film and television, work in the AV industry, work in the promotion and events industry, work in recording studios, work in an educational location before, but that's up to the students to organize. So for example, like a company that I know now that takes students, they might not even exist by the time you get to third year, or they might have expanded or moved on or changed. So we don't really have particular guaranteed pathways for students to do work placement. It's really up to the student to organize themselves. Okay. Is there usually lots of competition to get in? Yes, is the answer to that. Okay, so we have a good number of applicants to get into the places. So it is a good program. We have a good number of places. There are always kind of the people people who tend to do this program are very interested in this area. And they're very passionate. They probably can't find the outlet in their leaving cert kind of level, and they really are dying to get this program. So it is a good program to try and hone your skills in as well. So what sort of business do they go into? So I kind of mentioned that in the presentation as well about graduate opportunities and where they've ended up. Like, we are starting to track our alumni a little bit more, but the kind of places we found, because Ireland is kind of expanding its kind of post-production as a post-production center. So we're finding a lot of our students getting work in like post-production sound composition, sound design, mixing for film, television, video games. There's a lot of work in that area at the moment. A lot of the time it's freelance, but there's work in that sort of space. We're seeing that expand. Of course, we've had people go into software, recording, music elements, hardware, software, education. There's been loads of graduates going in success in different places, but we're just seeing right now there's a bit of more work than there had been in the past few years around post-production for film and television anyway, and writing music and recording in that sort of space anyway. Okay. So that's fine. Yeah, we do DARE. Yeah, we have this program takes DARE students as well. So again, if you have any particular questions about how that works, you can contact admissions@iadat.ie and they can talk to you about that process as well. So if you were choosing between if you were choosing between two equally talented applicants, what would make one stand out for the other? Okay. Well, we're not really doing that. Yeah, what we do is we judge the portfolio, okay, or the audition. So we're giving you a certain amount of points. We don't really, and then it just depends on how you do in your leaving cert as well. So, I don't think we never have that kind of position where we can only let one of two students in. We just give students a mark based on their performance on the day and their audition or their portfolio score. We're never really sort of saying an A or a B, but like what makes it for like the audition, being well prepared, being well informed about the program, being able to answer questions about what you'd like to do and in the program, what really interests you. So if you've done some research. For the production portfolio element, as I said, this year we're awarding extra marks for recording a live element like a vocal, a piano, a guitar, something live rather than just sample-based stuff, or show us that you've done some research, show us that you're enthusiastic, show us that you have thought a little bit about how you could develop as a practitioner or an artist as a result of doing the program as well. Any other questions there, folks? I think they'll give you another minute or two if anybody has any further questions. So the maximum points for the audition or the portfolio is 600. Okay. Rarely do, and people will be asking, what's the average portfolio score? We don't really give that out. Okay. But I would say that rarely do we give out 600. Okay. Very rarely. But at the same time, rarely do we give out 200, should we say, either, unless it's really poor work or maybe incomplete submission. So it's in that sort of bracket is what the average sort of scores are. Yes, exactly right. That's correct. You can get 300 in your leaving cert and 500 in an audition. That absolutely can happen, and that can get you 800 points to get into this program, without a doubt. So, as I said to you earlier, and reverse could happen. You could get 500 in your leaving cert and 300 in your portfolio, and for us, that equates to the same thing, and you get in the door into the program we see in September. So the portfolio scores are usually issued before the leaving cert. I don't have the date at the moment, but it's towards the middle of May. So you'll know what your portfolio is before you do your leaving cert if you're doing your leaving cert this year. And whether you're accepted or not, well, that depends on when the CAO offers are made, which Ruth could tell me what the date is for that. I'm afraid I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's in.
Sorry, what's that again, Connor? Sorry,
when are the CAO offers made?
The CAO offers are made at the end of August. So the leaving cert results come out around the 20th. They haven't confirmed yet when offers are out, but it's round one is around third week in August. It fluctuates. Yeah, about third week.
Okay, so that's it. Round then. So that's when we'll make offers out to students anyway. Okay, anything on distinctions for level 5 Leaving Cert and portfolio? Will the level 5 course have an impact on my application? So Ronan, as I was sort of saying, you need to just have a chat to admissions about the specifics around your level 5. Okay, and you'll also be asked to be there'll be an interview, sorry, just for advanced entry students or students coming through further education into the program. There will be an interview as well as submitting a portfolio anyway. And there are requirements about how many distinctions you need. I don't know off the top of the head. It might be listed on the portfolio, sorry, on the CMP webpage. Let me have a quick look there for you. But as I said to you, you can get on to the admissions office and they will tell you the specific details around mapping your qualification into entry into our program anyway, okay? Okay, let me just, I'll be looking in the background for that if it's not through to advanced entry. I think the advanced entry oh yeah, so here we go. Further education, it says here, requires distinction in 3 out of 8 modules. Applicants, that's what it says there for level 5. So you need 3 out of 8 distinctions for level 5, according to the website there. Anyway, I hope that helps, Ronan. Okay, so what production software is usually used? Okay, so it depends what you're doing, right? Yes, we teach Ableton. We teach a lot of Ableton in first year. It's so popular at the moment for production, for live performance, but for recording, it's not really something that we use. Pro Tools is still the kind of industry standard software for recording, and it links in well with the hardware, so we get low latency and high quality recording. So that's the software that you'll be learning. If you've done Ableton already, great. We'll be teaching you more advanced Ableton skills. If you've done Pro Tools, similar enough. There are other pieces of software along the way that you will learn as well that you're probably not familiar with. But in terms of pure production, that's what we work with. No, we don't recommend people get pirated versions of software. And no, there are no licenses that we give out to students. There are licenses in the college machines. In the Sound Training College, we have a few licenses in IADT. They're not across the entire campus, but they're in certain machines anyway. And I wouldn't recommend pirating stuff. There are discounts available for some software because we have relationships with some software providers. But yeah, Ableton is very popular, and I said we have the full suite versions available in all the machines in the Sound Training College and in some of the machines in IADT as well anyway. So okay, hope that answers your question. Okay, we're coming towards the end of this, folks, so if there's anyone who still has any questions, please let me know, okay, before we wrap up. Okay, give you a last opportunity. Any last questions there? Just type them in there.
That's it, Connor.
Looks good to me too. Okay, folks. So listen, thanks so much. Just a couple of highlights again. Sound Training College Open Day is this Saturday between 1 and 4. So if you're interested in this program and you hope to start, sorry, in September, please attend. That because it's great to get an idea of the spaces and the resources that we have on the program. And then if you want to come and see the resources in IADT, our open day is going to be on the 28th of February. The CAO deadline will be over around then, but you can come and have a look at the facilities and have a chat with some of our lecturers as well on that day anyway. Okay, so thanks very much for everyone for attending, and yeah, thank you very much. I think Ruth has recorded this session, so I think you'll probably get an email of it as well. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.